They are continuing to say that there are two tiers of justice, one for everyone else, one for Donald Trump. And just like how Donald Trump tried to discredit the news media, they're now trying to discredit with no basis the Justice Department, Steph.
Two systems of justice, of course. The treatment Donald Trump has gotten specifically this week when he was arraigned was significantly better than any other everyday, ordinary American. So when they talk about two justice systems, they're going to have to look to Donald Trump as to why he's getting hooked up. Neil, I want to talk about this New York Times report that some Trump allies on the Hill are working to take control of the Department of Justice if he gets elected. But first, I want you to watch this.
She should be locked up, tell you right now.
And they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department.
Hillary Clinton is trying really hard to get back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'll confess, I've got slightly different government housing in mind for her.
And I think this indictment is an abuse of power from the Justice Department.
She was reckless in the use of sensitive and even classified information. You cannot put someone like that in charge of the United States of America's military. What was the damage? Was this stolen and sold to the Iranians, sold to the Saudis, given over to the Russians? That allegation's not made in that indictment. No one's made that allegation.
I think she should be in jail for what she did with her emails.
Crooked Joe Biden's weaponized Department of Injustice, threatening me with 400 years in prison.
Neil, it's fair to say the hypocrisy is next level.
I mean, totally. I wonder if these Republican congressmen have whiplash from constantly changing their opinions on how politicians should handle classified information. I mean, it's almost comical to see the very same Republicans who shouted for years about lock her up when it was Hillary Clinton suddenly lose their deep regard for national security when it comes to Donald Trump. And, look, I think all of this stuff going on the Hill is emblematic of one thing. Trump and his Republican allies, Steph, are terrified of this case going to trial. They want to do anything possible to avoid it, because even though our criminal justice system is stacked in every direction in favor of a criminal defendant, from the standard of proof, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest standard of proof in the law that the prosecution needs to show, to the fact that the prosecutor, Jack Smith, has to win all 12 jurors. If any one juror says no, then Trump isn't going to be convicted. So you got all of that, and yet they're still terrified about a trial. And so I think that's what this underscores. The other thing is all this attack on the Justice Department. Remember, this prosecution is being handled under the special counsel regulations. There's something I knew well. I drafted them back in 1999. They were designed to avoid exactly this type of concern, that the Justice Department would act in a politicized way. And here they really worked. Attorney General Garland and Joe Biden didn't make this call. The person who made the call was a politically independent prosecutor, Jack Smith. And so when you hear Donald Trump go and attack Biden for this indictment, Biden had literally zero to do with it. He might as well go attack Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of Britain, because there's no relationship between Biden and this prosecution. That's why the special counsel regulations were put into place. Right now, they seem to be working very well, and it's just Republicans who want to disregard the truth and try and bury it and pretend this is Joe Biden who's trying to control this prosecution. Nothing could be farther from the truth.
Brian, let's talk, though, about these two separate justice systems, because the Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified documents online, he's just been indicted. And today, where is he? He's not at Mar-a-Lago. He's not at Bedminster. He's not throwing a fundraiser at a Cuban restaurant. He's in custody. And Donald Trump and his co-defendant, Walt Nauta, they're certainly not. Explain.
Yeah, I mean, like there's some differences, obviously, between those cases. But I mean, it really is remarkable when you consider the fact that you have a figure like Donald Trump who's, out there. I don't think anyone was really anticipating that they were going to try to move to keep him detained or anything like that ahead of time. But, we're talking about a 21-year-old kid who is sharing some things that he very much should not have been sharing on a social media platform, on Discord, versus, a president who's 78 and should have known better, right? Like a former president who lived a whole life and went through this process. It really is just amazing when you look at that. And I also just think, this notion that we're getting into with a lot of this, where it's this sort of Republicans just now sort of believe, it's sort of built into their system, that the FBI is sort of this liberal haven. And I always just pause on this, because if you were to go back to 2015, right, and like make a claim in court that the FBI, oh yeah, those liberals over at the FBI, I mean, you'd have a good run at an insanity defense. It's just so absurd that that's the world we live in now, where it's suddenly like, oh yeah, that liberal FBI, who's in charge of the FBI is a guy Donald Trump appointed, right? Chris Wray was brought in after he fired the former FBI director, who I would note also a Republican.
Also,
FBI has been headed by a Republican for all of modern history. It's just sort of wild that we're in this world where that's sort of just accepted, and we have to pretend like this is reality, when it's like, no, like, let's look at the facts here. There's no evidence that Joe Biden is interfering in this investigation. There's no evidence that Merrick Garland is interfering in this investigation. And there's no evidence that the FBI is full of liberals.
Thank you very much. It's not accepted. We have to keep telling the truth.